The mask is all the way off. Some of those enablers about what's going to happen, back to the government shutdown and Russ Vought, they can't even get their stories straight. Senator Mike Lee did this.
But this is what they're doing. They're doing it deliberately. It's going to harm them. Because Russ Vought, the OMB director, has been dreaming about this moment, preparing this moment since puberty. Russ Vought has a plan, and that plan is going to succeed in further empowering Trump. This is going to be the Democrats' worst nightmare, and it's of their own making.
Why is Mike Lee talking about Russ Vought during puberty? Like, this is how long he's been waiting to screw up this country. This is how long he's been planning to then coalesce more power for Donald Trump. They're saying it right in front of you. So all the denials about him wanting to be some kind of monarch and him being a fascist and all that. And then when Republican senators talk about how they're salivating at the opportunity for the government to be shut down so that they can then find a different avenue to fire more folks and then rehire only the ones who are supreme and utter loyalists so they can continue to behind closed doors and hide all of the information in the ways that they're screwing people's lives up and now monitoring us, which we saw in the last bit. He's celebrating it. Apparently, Russ Vought has been waiting since he was going through puberty. Ew. What's wrong with you, bro? He's not the only one, though. Recognize this ass kisser, too.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats force a shutdown, which they now have, that President Trump is going to use that as an opportunity not to tell people you're furloughed for a few days, but instead to send pink slips and to get rid of left-wing bureaucrats who are imposing left-wing priorities that are contrary to President Trump's priorities. I think that is fantastic, and what it's going to do is it's going to cause Democrats in Congress to scream and weep and gnash their teeth. I cannot wait for the next Democrat lunch when they start screaming at each other, when they start seeing pink slips go out at the EPA, at the Department of Labor, at the IRS, and suddenly the bureaucrats that they are entrusting to advance their job-killing agenda are themselves without a job. That's what's going to end this shutdown, as the Democrats are realizing that President Trump is making major advances for economic liberty as a result of the Democrats' temper tantrum.
Isn't that weird? The basis for your political arguments as an entire political party is to talk about how, look at my oppositional party is going to be gnashing their teeth and so upset and sad. Nothing about how Americans that they're screwing over by destroying the economy, how they're going to be gnashing their teeth, unemployed. What is it about new jobs and an unleashing of more jobs that this guy's talking about? The last story talks about how that's a lie. I'm going to get to that in a second. They just keep lying. What new jobs are coming? What unleashing of American prosperity is happening? When is any of this stuff that they keep talking about Donald Trump is unleashing by narrowing power and the power of American people over their representatives and coalescing it and giving it to Donald Trump has anything to do with them prospering from it? Because where is that $17 trillion that he keeps talking about that he's bringing in? We have Mike Lee, and we also have Ted Cruz celebrating Donald Trump's destruction of the government, and Russ Vought being the Grim Reaper that's going to do it. The problem here is that they didn't give that memo to dumbass Mike Johnson, because Mike Johnson was doing his normal lying. Moses was doing his normal lying, and he was trying to paint a different picture of Russ Vought that these other two didn't know was apparently the way to go.
They have now effectively turned off the legislative branch, the Article 2 branch the Article 1 branch of our government, and they've turned it over to the executive, okay? So in that situation, when Congress turns off the funding and the funding runs out, it is up to the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, to determine how those resources will be spent. He has that responsibility given to him by the Democrats in the Senate. They can't complain about it, and he doesn't want to do it. But in this scenario, what they have to do is make very difficult decisions. Most of the responsibility falls to Russ Vought. He's the director of the Office of Management and Budget, as you know. Whomever is seated in the chair at OMB during a shutdown has to do the same thing. Russ does this reluctantly. We had a 45-minute telephone conference with him yesterday. He talked to all the House Republicans. He takes no pleasure in this because Russ has to sit down and decide, because he's in charge of that office, which policies, personnel, and which programs are essential and which are not. That is not a fun task, and he is not enjoying that responsibility. And it could end today if the Senate Democrats would come to their senses and do the right thing for the American people. But if they don't, and if they keep the government closed, it's going to get more and more painful because the resources run out and more things have to be reduced and eliminated. Now, when he sits down as the director of OMB, he will obviously have a subjective determination on the priorities. And what do you think he would do? Because what would any OMB director do under any president? They're going to look to see for the administration's priorities first and ensure that those are funded. And so those are some very serious determinations that have to be made.
Mike Johnson said that Russ Vought and Donald Trump reluctantly do this. Maybe we should ask Ted Cruz and Mike Lee if they reluctantly do this, because apparently, according to Mike Lee, Russ Vought has been wanting to do this since he hit puberty. But instead, Mike Johnson says that he's reluctantly going to do it. This is what this is. This is them thinking this is their extreme bargaining chip. This is them thinking and they can force Democrats into being too afraid and then agree to everything that they want, which, by the way, what they want is to continue to do the same things that they're going to try and do at a hyper speed with Russ Vought and Donald Trump. Let them do it. They're already destroying the country. They're already destroying the economy. Let them do it. They're taking ownership of it. They just said he's going to have to do it. Since that's what they want to do, let them do it. We know how unpopular that was when they were stripping and slashing all these jobs. Let them keep talking about how it's going to bring this golden era of prosperity and an economy that no one could ever dream of, because you're not going to dream of it because it doesn't exist. So let them do it. Don't fall for that bluff. And if they go ahead with dismantling more jobs and more agencies and trying to coalesce more power to Donald Trump, which they're going to do anyway because this entire Republican Party in the Congress will let him do it, let them do it. There's no way anybody else can blame anyone for it except for the people who told you over and over again, this is what we're doing. Refer back to the video Donald Trump posted of the Grim Reaper who wants to do it.
Now their time has come. Here the power's gone. Russ Vought is the Reaper. He wields the pen, the thumbs and the brain. Here comes the Reaper. Done to your babies. Comes the Reaper. Gonna tie your hands. Here comes the Reaper. Won't be able to fly. Here comes the Reaper. Cry baby and your plan. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah.
This isn't a hard equation. You're already getting your ass kicked because you didn't have anything to say to the American people. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. So don't act like now you have some kind of control over this. You gave away that control when you kept being nice while they're kicking your ass around. So let them do it and let them take the responsibility for it.